35 of, I think, about 43 episodes. We're almost at
Yes,
the
sir.
end. And then we get to start browser hardening. Everyone's hot topic in the MSP space. Turns out just disabling password saving is not enough to secure your browser. Who knew? So
What?
looking forward to the next series coming up in about, let's see, we're about to hit March, so we'll probably kick that one off in May, Rich. So that'll be right before your sailing trip.
Yep. No episodes in
Awesome.
June for me.
Yep. Awesome. Well, today we have an amazing guest, Allen. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for stepping up and taking up one of the more difficult topics that is not really used in the MSP space, and I don't know how widely it is used across the board. So, for those of us who are just joining us, we're going to be talking about Microsoft Defender Application Guard. So we're going to go a little high level. As a heads up to preface, this is a next generation recommendation from CIS. So by no means is this an L1. It's not even an L2, right? So this is something you would definitely need to investigate more on your own and make sure it's a right fit for yourself and your clients.
Yeah, Zach, what I think about these settings is that, there's a lot of solutions on the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
And, organizations may have competitive solutions and they may tend to ignore this. But Microsoft does a pretty good job here, honestly. And it's really good value. These solutions exist for everybody for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really good value for folks to turn on these settings and manage them properly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll let Alan kind of introduce himself and go a little bit more into
Sure.
this. But the behind the scenes topic we're getting into is it's crazy how much Microsoft does, but there's so many other vendors like Senteon, for example, and all these other ones who basically exist because Microsoft maybe doesn't have the best usability or
Yep.
best whatever that is, but it exists. So that's what I love about this series as we dive into it. So, Alan, I've known you for the last handful of months. You are very much fundamental focus. So I was excited when you were willing to join the webinar series as our special guest. But Alan, do you mind just kicking it off square zero? How did you get
Sure.
into the MSP space and why do you care so much about security?
Sure. Thanks for having me, first of all. And it's great to be a partner. And you're right, I've known you for a few months and good to be a partner with Senteon. We are MSP based company in New York, New Jersey, Northeast area. And I'm going to date myself up, but I've been doing this for over 30 years. So we've been in this space. I started the company 92, so it's like
Wow.
32. Wow, crazy,
Yeah, you might have our
you're
mutual friend
younger.
Steve beat. I think Steve
Yes,
is
yes.
the most seasoned I've had on the show, but you are right there with him.
Yeah, and I know Steve, so
Well, Alan,
so
that's amazing. So talk about a story of evolution. I mean, you didn't start doing security in 1992. That wasn't
we
your
weren't even
focus.
called MSPs
Yeah,
1992, we had many different names, VARs,
sure.
solution providers, added resellers, solution
You've
providers.
done them all, right?
You name it. And I, until like 10, 15 years ago, I didn't even know I was an MSP. Yeah, because of the acronyms that exist in this industry, and half of them I have to Google myself of what these things mean
Right?
sometimes, but we were doing MSP before there was a word called MSP, managed service provider. So we were doing it, and we were doing this monthly recurring, and we were hardening, and we were helping them. So what also differentiates Extra Media from other MSPs is also that we do have a web application and development division as well. So we also get into the as a total solution provider, what we used to
So
be called
project side.
ourselves. So we also do we in years past we've done a lot of e-commerce sites, a lot of different
Cool.
application development, and a lot of our MSP customers do come to us and they
Do
have
you
a
focus on certain
pain point.
technologies, Alan? Do you have favorites that your team is expert
Um,
on?
it keeps changing. We were .NET, we were some different type of solutions from PHP, .NET. Nowadays it's in the open source areas and the Java, the Java scripting, and type of things that is
Market-driven.
that market driven, and it changes. I'd be honest
Yep.
with you, and our developers do change. And now with the AI world, I was just on a client call with somebody that we have a .NET application, and we are proposing to change it to a more modern language where we can build the AI features into it,
Cool.
and the application can do hopefully some thinking for us. So that is something that have a hot topic right now. Obviously, AI with NVIDIA today and the market, also talking about NVIDIA
Well, I'm sure
and their
kind of
earnings.
layer additional security into a rebuild. When you take something from .NET to a more modern language and build in things like AI, you're going to be able to deliver a more secure offering as well.
And that is something that actually this particular client, half of their business is being bought by a public company, and that was a concern of theirs with this application that exists, that it needs to be more secure, it needs to be on a more modern type
Yep.
of a language. So that's what differentiates us also.
Very
But
cool.
on the MSP world, obviously security has been the hot topic, and I think it's what's driving our business in the last 2-3 years, and that is something that personally, as the founder of the company, I have really been focusing on security, with the different platforms, CIS and things, and that's what brought me to Senteon, because it's something that we need to figure out better for our clients. And that is something that with insurance, cybersecurity insurances, with all types of requirements, even though we're not most of our customers are not in a regulated type of industry, we are doing for them what without the regulations, and what we're trying to safeguard their environments. Because what I call with my customers right now, with our clients, is we are sort of in the wild west right now, and it's crazy what's out there. And yes, Microsoft is helping, giving us the background, the tools, but it's hard to do it, and
Yep.
that's where some of our other vendors are coming in, helping us. And our technology stack is growing, our security stack is growing with all types of EDRs and MDRs, XDRs, and SOC and SIMs, and and we have to educate our clients of what these things are. Sometimes, we recommend these solutions to them a year and a half before. It's funny, just to explain, yesterday I had another client call. This is totally from our application development side. Something that we had recommended about a SOC and a SIM to a customer about a year and a half ago. And they said, nah, we're going to hold off on it. It's too expensive. We're not going to do it. I got a call yesterday that, let's get on a call. We need to do this. I'm like, what prompted you? We've been pushing for this for a year. So there's two things that happen in this industry. With them, it's either insurance, that sometimes cybersecurity insurances are driven. But with this case, what was driven is they were trying to work with a large company, and the client said, you have to have it, or else we're not going to work with you. So, and that's what, and they were happy that I was proactive, that I had already quoted them out the solution, and we were ready to implement it. And they're like, how fast can you implement it? I said, I'll have it done by tomorrow.
So you were first in line. They didn't even look at your competitors. That's nice.
No, they didn't, because
you're the
are
trusted
always
advisor.
ahead of them, and we are the trusted advisor. We are also, we try to tell our clients what's the best practices are. And sometimes we ask them, you have to do it, and we won't even support you.
Well, Alan, I love that story. That's fantastic. That's a great story. Where I thought that was going? I thought you were going to say they figured out that a bad guy was living on their network for the last 6 months, and they just figured it out, because that could be. They could also
no,
get that
thank God that wasn't the case, and
thankfully not.
That was
good.
Thankfully, it wasn't, because we don't want that to
No,
happen with anybody.
it
But
happens though. God,
it does happen, and and that's what they came to us and they said, "Can you implement it? We need to sign this contract, and can you implement it?" I'm like,
yes, I
we've done it
can.
for majority of our clients, and we're ready to go.
Excellent.
And we can push it to every node in your network very quickly, and we can do it.
So there's a lot
So
that I definitely want to dive in more, because you shared a lot of content
Yeah.
there that we really
a lot of
if we,
context. Sorry, I went off on a.
no, I took notes on that, and I'm going to ask you to go deeper on that. But on the most
Sure.
important note, you did say something that I don't think me and Rich have really heard on this show, and Rich already brought it up. This client came back to you because they needed security to land additional business. It wasn't because they went
Yeah,
through a
I know.
breach.
Yep.
It usually we hear, hey, they got hit by ransomware.
Right.
Now they want to give you money. But this
Yep.
was,
Right.
I need a sale. Security is going to enable me to generate more revenue.
Yeah, you're enabling the
Allen,
business. It's a business enabler in that instance.
So
We have seen this a lot.
that's where I wanted to
Go
go.
ahead.
Have you seen
Yeah.
this before?
Okay.
And can you share more about that experience?
So I am seeing it more and more often, and that is, insurance was sort of cybersecurity insurance was sort of what was driving some of these sales for us. But what I'm seeing now is, especially in the larger, small medium businesses, that they are trying to work with, or they're picking up a client that is more security focused, and they are sort of
They're part of
requiring
the
them.
supply chain, right?
They're part of the supply chain, and they are requiring them, and they're like, "We're not going to do business with you if you don't have these things in place." Because with this particular client, the way it works is that their customers are giving them a lot of data, and they are pushing data to them for analysis. So we have a few clients that are taking data from their customers, and they're doing some analysis for many different types of reasons why they're doing this, and that's where they're in the service business to do that. And their customers are saying, if you're going to have our data, we need to make sure you have these controls in place, or else we're not going to
You don't get the
give you
data.
our data.
Yeah, sure.
You don't get the data. And we've been in a position to be able to act very quickly, and being able to provide them with the security, and that they
Demonstratable
require, to
security.
go back to the customer and saying, we have it.
Yep.
We have this. We have a SOC behind it. We have an EDR. We have an MDR. We have this. We have that.
Send the data.
So send the data, and that's what we have seen recently with a lot of customers,
So are
with
these,
our own clients
Cool.
that are being asked to do that.
are these, and you might have just answered this, but are these your existing clients coming back and saying we need more? Are you actually leveraging this trend as a proactive business generator? Could you expand on that more?
Sure, both ways. We are, as our technology stack grows, we have created a documentation with every technology stack that we bring on board, even without selling it to a client, that we will create a white paper, we create a documentation of what this is, and we are sending it to all our existing clients, and we're telling them why they need some of it and why they might potentially need some of it.
Mm-hmm.
There is a certain basic security stack that we will not even have you as a client if you don't touch it.
What does that look like, Alan?
An MDR, an EDR,
Okay.
MDR, like a SOC behind an EDR. If you're not willing to have it installed in every node on your network, I cannot. Extra
Risk
media
for
is
you to
not your.
accept.
You're not a MSP. Some MSPs say you can sign some sort of a letter saying that you know of this risk, and we won't even accept you. We won't say, even to my existing, when EDRs and when this thing came out a few years ago, we went back to all our clients. We're like, you have to have it. And thankfully, my clients, being with me for a long time and trusted, and we have a good MSP business, and they all said, let's do it. And we set up a minimum stack, minimum security that you need to have for us to even be your MSP. Now, on top of it, we provided many different security solutions that you might potentially be required, because I sit on a lot of different insurance companies, advisory boards, and we look at it. We are in touch with them. So we know what they are coming back with in the next 6 months, a year, or what they're thinking about. So
well, in that role, that's what they want, right? They want a forward-thinking person, someone that can bring business-enabling solutions, like you described, for your other customers. Like, hey, supply chain, if we're part of the supply chain, we're going to be affected by this eventually. Let's get ahead of it, and that's a good advisor role, right?
And we tell them, you might not be required. We recommend it, and these are the reasons why we recommend it. Even if the insurance companies or your clients are not requiring it, this is what it can hopefully safeguard your business.
Yeah, you can get ahead of what will likely be a recommendation or a requirement, and use it as competitive advantage.
Correct. So that's what we've been doing, and we've been using it with our internal customers. And sometimes, as happened yesterday, I probably sent that type of thing about a SIM model, what they're required to have, about a year ago. I would say about 9 months ago. And at first they said, okay, thank you for the advice.
Sure.
I think the cost is too much. We are already adhering to your minimum
in that
security.
point in time, they had bigger priorities at that point in time to
Which
go
was
after.
fine, which we also
Exactly.
we
Gonna
agreed to
happen.
it, that this is something that is not critical at this
Yep.
point. It can become more critical, but what we had done, and with all these security stacks that we have, that we spend time to educating our clients by detailed documentation
That's the
of
payback
what
right there, right?
we had sent them to them, and they remembered it. And we, from time to time, I bring it up to them, that maybe I'll resend it to them, and we have a 40-page document that we've prepared with all the different security and different types of things that they might need. And they came back to me, and the sale process was about 10 minutes.
It sounds like you have your own shopping catalog that you share with the client.
I do, but I have to explain to them what it's for, and what's the benefits, and what the costs are, and it could be a drawback. And and sometimes we decide that that is not for every client. But as far as having a basic security stack, you have to have it at this time.
So you're doing two things that I feel a lot of MSPs a lot of times do struggle with. So I want to hear how you've been successful. But you're doing proactive research, staying ahead of the curve, and in your case, as you shared, like using Senteon, right? Not a majority of MSPs aren't focusing on security configuration, CIS benchmarks, right? So you're ahead of the curve and staying in tune with proactive security solutions. But the story you just provided sounds more hands-on with the customer than anything I've ever heard. It sounds like constant touch bases, sharing your stacks, sharing options, educating them. That combination of two things can't be done by just one Allen. I mean, how do you manage this? Is it a very large team, dedicated roles?
Sure.
How is this possible?
Sure. So we went to a model that all our technicians are supposed to know pretty much everything. It's hard to achieve, but we have constant team members sitting together and going over our security stack. And if I'm coming up with a new product, and that is my role pretty much in the company now, not on a day-to-day. I have other people that run the day-to-day, managers that run day-to-day. But my role in the last 2 years, and that's what I've done specifically, is product development, new product development. Looking at, and I'd be honest with you, probably 80% of it has been security focused, because that's what people are looking for, and that's what it is. And creating a team that any of my team members knows, if I bring a new security stack or any type of a product on board, they know. We have a lot of cats there. I
Yeah,
like that.
sorry about the cats, Alan.
That's okay. That's okay. It's funny. It's not the same cat, right? Going from, you're in different places. It's fun.
But no, you were explaining how you have a lot of
No,
trust in
but
your team. It sounds like even they can
right.
communicate together outside of just what
And they
you bring
do.
to them.
And they do, and a lot of times, even my level 1, all of them, they will sell a product because they are talking with the customers on a day-to-day basis. They're answering tickets. They see the pain points. They see what's going on. And a lot of times they come to me and say, Alan, we need to have a conversation with this client because they're missing this piece. And this is something that can alleviate this pain point. So all my techs are sort of my salespeople as well.
So I want to pause
which is different than
really quick,
what
Alan,
I've
because
seen.
that is very different. Sounds like your engineers almost identify an opportunity, so either yourself or the account manager can then
Correct.
propose the solution with better context because it was already qualified. I mean, your engineers are your qualifiers? Is that?
They are. But the reason why they can do that is that every engineer understands the benefits of all the products that we have, the stack that
the
we have.
big picture, the full stack.
They could. A lot of companies that come to us as a new MSP, this is a very interesting concept for them, where they're answering tickets, but they're having conversation with the client about what they're missing or what they can be doing. And that is something that we have this interaction with our clients, that it's just not me, it's all my engineers are having these type of conversation, and they are aware of every product that we have, like Senteon, which was brought up a few months, like some time ago. We're having this internal conversation, what it's for, what it's doing. And every engineer, every product manager, everybody in the company, I think my accountant knows about it. But what it does, but we also implement it here first, our security side, so they see it, they see what's going on with it and how it's hardening their environment, because and therefore then they are the front line telling my clients or our clients what benefits it poses. So they bring me a lot of new sort of sales through this channel that we have. But it takes time to do that. We have to take time from our, in the MSP world, time, we're just constantly bombarded with new things, new products, new things. But we do make the time to sit down and having it virtually or in the office,
I'm sure, Alan,
to review every product.
Your engineers probably come up with new use cases for the technology that you bring in that you probably didn't even imagine, I would assume.
It happens all the time. It really happens.
They're good
all
at
the
that.
time. And it's like, can we do this for? Can we use this for? I'm like, let's see. Let me talk to Zach. Let me talk to this, and let's see. And let's see if we can leverage this tool to do that.
I mean,
and one of the other things that Zach, you mentioned, how do you peer groups helps also. I came through Senteon through a peer group as well, but we do have MSP peer groups, and there's a lot of good MSPs out there, and we being obviously the best of them. But by peer group wouldn't like that. But we do bring, we talk about products, and we talk about what's out there. We talk about it all the time, and that has been a real help for myself and for our MSP as well.
It's extremely interesting. Like, I love that story you just shared. We talked about 3 different topics in that segment, but the root of it was communication. It was engineer to engineer communication, you to engineers, engineer to customer, right? And MSP to MSP owner with the peer groups. everything that
Correct.
you shared about your success and your methodology, the root of it was communication. And if I asked the question, you said, hey, I'm the trusted advisor. I presented something to them 12 months ago and they didn't get back to me until now because you position yourself as a trusted advisor. I'd be inclined to say you're going to say you earned that because of communication, right?
100%.
We did.
So,
But it takes a lot to prepare these bullet points and on explaining to a high level customer, to a to a director or to any of these that I'm communication, what the benefits are, and they want the short answer. They don't want a long drawn out answer, and how it will benefit their business, directly. How is it benefiting their business? Um, and we can explain it to them, what data is very valuable, how data can move within a large corporate office from, and how they can safeguard their data, data being so valuable, being everything that a customer, the client has is data. And it's very important to safeguard that data, and they're worried about employees, mishandling that data. So a lot of these solutions that we provide to them is basically to help them manage that.
That's where the CIS level 3 benchmark settings,
yeah,
level
these
3
next
profile,
generation.
defense in depth. When you have that sensitive data, it really does require extra protection. As
Yeah.
if you're the custodian of it, if something goes wrong with that data, it's not a good look for your business at all, particularly if that's your primary, you talk, that's what this business does, right? So
Yep.
if they have a problem with someone's data, guess what? You're out of business.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now,
Yep.
and as you know, the majority of the audience who watches the videos is MSPs. And I know if I were to follow up with any MSP after this show and I say, yeah, Alan just said better communication, constant communication, they're gonna say, I don't have they don't have the time. And you even hinted at that at the start of this is, hey, time is
Sure.
limited. So with all this personalized, it sounds like one-on-one touches. I mean, is there a lot of automation in this communication or are you just living on your phone?
No, it's a lot of automation as well, because as I explained, we have we we create documents
Mm-hmm.
to explain every one of our products and what it's for, what the benefits are. So, and we pretty much every technology stack, everything that we're using, it's on a one page, easy to understand what it is, what it does, and what's the advantages. And I've shared that with every client of ours. And it gets updated and they get the
That's the
updates.
hard part, keeping
And
that stuff fresh,
yeah,
right?
correct. And that's what we have, a nice team, including myself, that I sit on that. And we update this document, even though technology, that stack, that product might not change. The use case of it might change a little. And something that one of my technicians said, we can use it for this. We will add it to
The
that bullet
external
point.
forces could change, right? Position the
It
product, the
can.
solution
And
differently.
we will bring that to the client and we will point that in an automated email,
Yep.
in some sort of an automated, that I cannot be sitting and talking to everybody and finding the time, my time. Okay, I work 24/7, no problem.
We're owners. It's
But
what we do.
we're owners. That's what we do. But getting in touch with a client, they don't want to sit down and talk to me all the
They
time.
want to consume the content, when they want to.
On their own time, on their own time. So we do point out small little bullet points that we give them, and that can trigger some sort of a nerve. It says we need that, or we are lacking
Minimally, it's
that,
planting a seed. So when the time comes, when they're ready, boom.
or some employee that left, that took the laptop, didn't return it, and did they have dual factor authentication on that laptop? Can we block them from using that laptop because they took some data? And that's how we have told our clients they need on laptops, they need dual factor, they need some sort of a thing to lock out an employee. And then, unfortunately, what happens is they know that they're like, no, it's not going to happen in our environment. And unfortunately, they do have an employee that leaves and takes data with a laptop, and they don't have that tool. And
Or the
then what
laptop gets
happens?
stolen out of the back of your car.
Or the laptop, and people travel. I think business travel is starting to pick up
Yep.
again. And people leave their laptops
Yep.
in airport lounges, and it happens. Um, or with work from home, there's a lot. We still, we're in a hybrid model right now. We have a lot of our clients who have gone back to, after COVID, they've gone back to the offices, but it's like on a 2 days work from home, 3 days work. So sometimes they have laptops, sometimes they have dual workstations that are still from the COVID times. So it how we can safeguard against that employee that has a computer, what data sits on that home computer, can they use it for other things, and hardening it. That's where some Senteon comes in. Sometimes it's also other tools that we have
Yep.
that they didn't have those needs, but now they need them. And if I have educated them on it, at least on an easy to read bullet points type of document, they come back and they say, Alan, you're right, let's do it. And we need to do that.
Yep. You're top of mind
So
already. I think that's absolutely critical.
I think that's how we do it, because I cannot be
It's a rewarding way to
doing
do
this,
business, really, right?
Yeah. So it's really having you understanding your own stack and what the benefits of every product that you bring onto your stack is, and being able to convey that to a client in a very easy to understand, high level manner, where it's on the top of their mind, and you have to refresh these documents, and then I think it just sells itself.
Yeah, love that. Well, we do have the educational portion, but I feel like we've learned a lot already. I want to dive into one more thing, and because we're on the scope of building more business for MSPs. Every MSP wants the next client, more clients. And at the beginning of this, you had mentioned one of your customers, a portion of their business is getting acquired, so they need it to up the security or something. When I guess, do your end clients get acquired often? Does that happen? But the point of my question is, when that happens, do you try to land the acquirer's business? Do you try to expand through that, or is that just churn?
Listen, I've had, over the past 30 years, obviously, I've had a lot of churn, as you call it. We've had it. It happens. I've had a few companies that were sold to a larger organization. I would like to say to them that the reason why they bought your company is because we had done such a good job of, provided such a good MSP or value to them, that they were easily allowed to get integrated into a larger company. So we have had that. So we've had a few of those, and it's a mixed bag. So sometimes in the larger organization, they have their own MSP or trusted MSP, or they have an internal team. And usually with that is a limited time where you can work with them and provide certain things, and we understand it. And
well, sometimes people are just buying customers, right? They're shutting down systems and moving customers to their systems, and that's it.
Correct. But sometimes that's something that they realize, what the benefit that we bring to the thing. And I have actually, I think in the last 30 years, with every client that sort of has been bought out, and it's not a lot of them, I would say, a couple of handfuls, but amount of business that we have picked up from the acquiring companies, even though it might be less, it's bigger.
Yeah, there you go.
So, it's a mixed bag, so I've landed a customer that was bought out about 12 years ago by a larger company, and this client of ours has over 2,000 nodes that we now we are their MSP.
So there is an opportunity to keep
So there's
that
an
client and
opportunity.
expand. It's not just automatic write-off loss.
It's not actually. It's not actually. And I think I have total dollar volume. I have more business because of what got bought out than I have probably less, but
Smaller piece of a bigger
it's
pie.
more, but more dollar amount. And one client that you pick up from that, that's a larger customer, can pay for 5 clients.
Yeah.
So that got bought out. So it's a mixed bag. Sometimes it's always when that happens, when they bring that conversation, it's a little hard. They're like, am I going to,
Anxiety.
am I going to lose this anxiety? But if you do
That's
the
business,
right thing, if you do the right thing, if you, with the acquiring company, if you're provide them anything they want fast, and being
They're going
as
to
a
suck
real
to
partner,
the new place.
they
We need these guys.
realize that, wow, this is something that it's not it's a happy thing. So they realize that, and they might use you. And I've had a client that actually got bought out. We lost the client for 2 years, and after 2 years, that acquired company came back and said, can you do something for us? And it became a sort of a client of ours in the web division, actually. So
Nice.
Awesome.
listen, as long as you do the right thing, I think it will work out.
Don't burn your bridges
in the long term. Don't burn your bridges, as my parents always used to say. It will come back to haunt you. And I've seen it. As I get older, I've seen it, and I teach my kids the same thing. And I tell them, be careful. Just do the right thing, and
it's not over yet.
It's not over yet. And you might benefit from it in 10 years, but you will benefit from it if you do the right thing. And that's what we have done with our clients, and that's what I think. That's why we've been very successful.
Well, that's what all CIS is all about: doing the right thing,
doing the right
your
thing.
systems.
That's a perfect transition to the educational portion of today. So, like I prefaced at the beginning, we're going to be talking about some next generation settings. These level NG, as CIS calls it, are not for everyone. They should possibly even have a dedicated full-time employee to implementing this, managing this, right? This is not for the general MSP. So I'm going to hand this right off to you out of the bat, Allen. At the highest level, Microsoft Defender Application Guard. Could you kind of explain what this is?
So the great thing about Microsoft is that they come up with new and new products, and with new names, and
sometimes the same product with new names.
with a new name, and we have to figure out what they mean or what's going on with it. But I guess the Microsoft Defender Application Guard is a way to safeguard your environment, and anything that is untrusted, anything that is a browser, you go to a website to open a Word document from an untrusted source, it can safeguard it and open it in a VM, sort of in a container, where you can interact with that document, securing it from your network, securing it from your local machine. And that is a big plus, that you can be able to do that as we get documents from all kinds of sources, and all kinds of untrusted sources, and phishing attempts and type of thing, that you can open up that document, interact with it, edit it, send it back in sort of a container, and not being able to damage your computer, your network, your infrastructure. And that's the high level, basically, what it can do. In reality, we have to see what it can do, but that's what it's supposed to do.
The description is always better.
The description is always better. And in this wild west,
I
call it, I think it will be, as it matures, we can definitely utilize these containers. I think that's something we've been doing in a way internally, but this will give us a framework to do it.
Yeah, when we talk about, and Zach's favorite is minimizing the blast radius, and this is a great way to do it.
I like that. I'm going to use that to minimize the blast radius. I think this will definitely do it.
Yeah, that's all I talk about with configuration. So love that there. And it's awesome that you said this could be something that becomes more valuable, right? Because the MSP as an industry was not always doing cybersecurity, and you ensured that from your business model,
No,
right?
no.
But as this industry, and the more I work with all of you and meet people like you, Alan, the more I start to agree with Matt Lee, who says, at this pace, MSPs may out mature some of the medium enterprises on the security stack because you guys are living in it and you guys have, bandwidth is bandwidth, but you guys are
Yep.
dedicated to just the security of your clients. So you're focusing on it more. So I think that's really cool.
I 100% agree with that. And I think because we see so many different environments, which maybe they don't, I think we're going to, I think the MSPs, especially us, I mean, I'm sure most of MSPs, a lot of MSPs have matured enough and they are really on top of their security stack. And I think that's something good for the industry.
Yep. And talking about this being a next generation, right? And this may not be something used today, but other things the CIS benchmarks recommends is using BitLocker, right? We all know about use BitLocker to encrypt the drive, but there's about 50 different BitLocker recommendations within CIS. That's another feature that's not really used today in the MSP world, right? So that's another feature. I know LAPS. We had CyberQP on this show, but Microsoft itself has its own internal LAPS functionality that may also start to get taken advantage of. So there's just a lot of pieces of Microsoft. Know your tools, be like Alan,
Yep.
be proactive,
Yep.
And see what you can do. So
Talk
thanks
to
for
your
the high
trusted
level there.
advisors.
What was that?
Talk to your
Right.
trusted advisors.
Talk to your trusted advisors.
That's
Yep.
right. And we do a good job talking to them, to our clients. So that's what we do.
Awesome. And keep your vendors involved in case there's something you want or the engineers want to do with the tool. Vendors, from what I've heard, can be very in tune to want to learn how to be better. So,
well, you guys do a good job. I send you guys an email and I get a response. So that's a good thing.
well,
That's
if
right,
that's
Henry.
the bar for vendors, I'm glad we can meet that. All right, let's get in a little bit deeper into the presentation.
Sure.
If we can pull up the first slide here, a moderator in the background. Thank you. So head over to these MITRE attack techniques on slide 2. If you don't mind just calling out a couple of these, we talk about man in the middle a lot and talking about these containers. Obviously, that's going to be able to mitigate the risk of that being successful. But call out one or two of these, Alan, and just kind of describe at a high level what this is.
You tell me where do we want to
Something
go?
like modifying authentication process, right? Why is that critical to make sure the authentication process is not tweaked with in the background?
Well, authentication is about allowing people into their network environment, right? And if that changes, that could be a big security problem that somebody can use that authentication to be able to gain access to resources that they should not be doing it, and a lot of security threats are using that process to do it. And that is something that we really have tools. We have to really watch out to see if that process changes or something changes it. We know that is something that could be a potential problem with the network. So that's very important.
Yeah, and I mean those bad actors may have a compromised certification or something, right? That they're just hey, allow this, and then it's going to be better defense evasion. They can get to where they want, right? It's all about with these configurations we talk about is reducing the chance of that bad actor getting a foothold, right?
That's what it's about. We're trying to make sure that who has access is the right person that has access, and the bad actors are kept away.
Yep. Let's see. Any of these other ones you want to talk towards? I always like just kind of showing this slide because it really resonates that these are the things that having a hardened environment can help mitigate. Is there any other one of these that really resonate with you, Alan?
Impaired defenses, defenses are your way of controlling the network, right? Controlling the workstations. And if those defenses are somehow impaired, that could,
I mean, a configuration change, right? If they are able to just change one thing, it's going to make their job easier, right?
Easier, yeah. And you just have to be able to control that. And trust controls, disk wipes. I mean, these are
Yep.
all things that we can talk about. I don't know if you want to go through different slides, and
No, we
we
got
could,
we
we
got
could,
a handful of settings. So I actually just looked at the time. I didn't realize how much banter
yeah,
we did. I was really into
yeah,
that conversation. Um, let's actually head over to this first setting here. Allow auditing events in Microsoft Defender Application Guard. So like you introduced, this is
yep,
basically like that container.
yep.
So I guess explain to us why, even though it's in the container, we still want those auditing events allowed.
So we want to know what's going on. We want to know who's doing what, and we can better learn from these audits of what we should be allowing. Maybe we should be allowing certain things and not. And uh, human behavior, and in a company where we need to figure out auditing, having logs is very important, and people have these, and they sometimes they don't look at them, and that is something that is
Mhm.
extremely important, to be able to go through these audits and logs and seeing. We want to create an environment where we're creating as much security but not hindering employees from to doing their business. And if we can learn from these logs and audits what the applications are doing and what they're not doing and what it's trying to interact with, we can mitigate threats.
Alan,
But
which is
allowing the user, the employee, to do their job.
absolutely impossible without your SIM service, though, right? There's no way you can manage these logs and be proactive enough to see something that would
Correct.
trigger you to investigate. So that's where that SIM and log management process is really critical. And having that data, this is just enabling that data. This is where someone can potentially manipulate information on that machine to gain credential access. And you
Impair
want to know
defenses
that.
even, right? If you
Yep.
disable the collection of logs, the SIM's not going to be triggered at all, right?
Right
Correct.
on.
So
Yeah. So very important. I mean, it's something that some people enable it, but they don't ever look at it, or they don't have a SOC to look at it. They don't
Then it's
have their
just
own internal
information
thing.
you can use for
It's
forensics.
information, but in this environment, logging and auditing, which is more than even logging, because auditing means you're looking at the logs, right? You're auditing them. Um, it's extremely important to be able to know what's going on and what applications are trying to do, and what some of
yep.
these bad applications are trying to do, and what they're trying to get access to. And you can learn from that to be able to harden the environment further, or allowing the user to do something where you know that it's going to be accessing a network, but it's in a safe environment.
Yep, I think that's perfect. And to wrap up on this slide here with auditing, definitely work with your SIM provider, because
Yep.
CIS does have more. They recommend to collect the critical types of audit logs. Sometimes it's just success, sometimes it's just failure, right? So
Mhm.
work with your SIM provider, because a lot of times they're able to ingest success and failure, while
They
CIS
can.
makes recommendations under the assumption you
They
do
can,
not
and that's
have a SIM.
important. And
Hmm.
that's very
How
important
about the
sometimes.
tuning,
Yes.
right?
Tuning, yep. All
Tuning.
right. Awesome. Let's go to this next slide here. Allow camera and microphone access in the application guard is set to disabled. Again,
Right.
pretty intuitive here. We don't
Pretty
want bad
intuitive.
actors to
Yeah.
possibly have visuals or audio. But
But
Alan, anything?
audio, you could be in a conference room setting, and
You don't even know
proprietary
what's listening.
information. You don't know what's listening. So this is fairly easy to understand. I would say, audio is probably in a business environment, or I guess in a home environment. Now people have
Yeah.
cameras, and they're sitting in their bedrooms doing work, and they can. So it's pretty intuitive to make sure it's disabled,
I don't know why I had
and
this thought, but
and only gave access to when it's like when we're having this recording, when we're having this session, and the cameras are being used a lot, so you have to be careful.
I've
yeah.
been to Zach's office.
You have. It's funny that I don't know why my mind went here, but talking about everyone working from home, right? I, as an employee, maybe having a personal conversation, bad mouthing maybe my
Sure.
boss or
Yeah.
a client, even, right? if a bad actor gets that, I mean, that could be maybe
They can
blackmail. Hey, we're going to
blackmail.
release this, whatever that is. So anyway, your comment about work from home made me think about that. All right, let's go to this next setting here. Keep some pace. Allow data persistence is set to disabled when in here. What's data persistence mean?
So I think what they're referring to here is that a user's data to be able to, if it's not, so that let's say you download something or you're using some data, it's when you're off of that session, you don't want that data to persist. You want the data to be used for that user. If anybody else comes in and logs into that machine or that browser or whatever it, that basically you want to disable this thing so that the data will get destroyed after user is logged off or the user is
when the container dies, the data
when
dies.
the container dies. Thank you, Richard. That's we have to think of containers in this manner, but that is important because you could be looking at some sensitive information, and when you're done with that, it should die with it.
Yep.
And not left on the computer.
Yep, absolutely. All right, next setting here. It's funny, Michael, the overarching application guard is an overwhelming topic, but these settings are very, I mean, they make sense, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
All right, allow files to download and save to the host operating system from the application guard is set to disabled.
Disabled, right.
This is in a container, right? So they're saying,
right.
Yeah, so they're saying we don't want stuff in the container. So go on.
Because there's no point of the container if you allow data to come to your host operating system. Again, we're in a VM, we're a virtual sort of container, right? Yep. We want the data to stay there because that data could be malicious data.
Yeah, we don't know if it's bad or not, right?
We don't know if it's bad or not. So we want it. This is, I would think this is standard, right? I don't know. Is it? I don't know. But it should be that the whole point of this thing is, let's not take the chance. But the whole point of, Microsoft application guard is to keep it in that container and make sure that it's not hitting the host operating system.
No point of the container if it can still communicate
it basically
it just
bypasses the whole concept.
That's why configurations are important. I mean, you can install an EDR
if you think you're using Microsoft application guard, but it's not doing what it's
not doing anything, right?
If you don't set the right, if you don't set the right thing, because a lot of times Microsoft will open everything else, and it's your job really to close it off because they want
ease of use.
I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is a lot of, I don't know if the term is shelfware or bloatware. A lot of times I've heard MSPs will have technology they don't even have set up properly, or enterprises, hey, we've been paying for this for 12 months, but it's not even active because we haven't had time to set it up, right? So yeah, this is just one of the things.
Happens a lot.
I've
gone to clients who they're like, we have this. I'm like, you have it. You paid for it, but you don't have it.
Yep.
It's been dormant. It's sitting here. I know you've been paying for it, but when we get a new client and they're like, "Well, we have this. I'm like, "You have it. It's not configured. It's not doing anything." Yep. I'm like, they're like, "Wow."
In this case, you're literally, if you configure this incorrectly, you're not even leveraging the application.
You're not leveraging anything. You're just. It might make you feel better that you have it, but
sure, be that way, Alan. Make everyone use all the technology.
The disgusting thing about what you said, it may make you feel better, but allegedly they probably could check mark that box on an insurance audit.
They can.
Even if it's not set up appropriately or being used. That's the disgusting
when they get
reality.
audited, they come back and they're like, you're not doing it. So it could be a big
yeah, that's problem. You can check the box, but it's not going to pass an audit. Is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to this next setting here. Very similar. It's going to be specifically focused on the clipboard behavior settings.
Same concept.
Same exact concept. I'll just read it for the recording. Enable clipboard operation from an isolated session to the host. So this is actually, if I'm reading this correctly, this is saying the opposite, saying we're allowed to copy from the isolated session over to the host, which to me sounds a little backwards.
Yeah, from isolated sessions to the host with security transfer, allowing necessary information while maintaining isolation security. I'm guessing because it's through a clipboard. And
Yeah, it's
that's
kind of a
good question.
usability type of
Yeah,
thing. Where,
usability probably saying that
yeah, it's just too
you're
annoying.
working with the data in the isolated, and the result of that data can be copied to the host because you've already done. It's just a data result.
Yeah.
So it's
You're
not
not
the
actively
actual
grabbing
malware or anything like that that's
correct
coming through
across
the.
your
It's
keyboard
not
or your
coming through the
keyboard.
clipboard. So it's actually usability. What Rich said is that let's do all the work in the isolated environment, and then when we have that document, just the text of the document can be copied over to the host, and it's actually probably that's useful because you're keeping everything isolated.
Yep. Perfect. Glad we caught that one. Don't want to give.
Yeah, you're right.
So, all right, let's head over to the last setting of the application guard, and it's the most straightforward here. If we're going to configure any of these settings, you better have the application guard itself enabled. So this setting here is just saying, hey, you got to have it on enabled one, so you can actually configure this. But Alan, anything more to add about the application guard before we switch topics?
It's a great technology. I think it's something that with all the stuff that's going around, if we can any untrusted from any data that comes from an untrusted source to be able to keep it in a container, I think it will alleviate a lot of the headaches that's happening.
It's just like the
And
COVID-19 restrictions when we had to shelter in place, right? We're sheltering our information in place right in that container.
in a container, I guess.
If it stays in the container, it might have.
And if it
Anyway,
stays
that's a
in the
different topic.
container, so that's a whole different. I'm not tackling that one for now. But
All right. Thanks for the.
but yeah, this is
Mhm.
important.
Yeah. All right. We got 3 more settings here. These are more just general,
Sure.
good cyber hygiene settings here. So the first one, enable news and interests on the taskbar is set to disabled. That
Yeah,
doesn't
this is
sound that dangerous. Why don't we want our end users being able to get news notifications on the taskbar?
I think we're trying to keep our end users focused on the business and their personal life and use when they're off the clock, I guess. But it creates a lot of distraction, and it has happened to me myself that I get distracted with something from a friend or from this, and 3 hours later, I'm like, what did I do today?
Mhm.
How did I get involved in this?
Yeah,
And especially in the
absolutely.
MSPs, in any business, you have to the focus and being able to finish a task and not get sidelined by some sort of a news or some. It's important. I think that it's a little disruptive to companies, and we have disabled that a lot of times.
Mhm.
And
And
it's
I
also
think
even more than that, which is critical. I 100% agree with that. That is a big part of it. But also by eliminating that content, you're reducing attack surface because malicious content could potentially appear there and entice someone to click on it.
it
Yep.
can. It can.
It's not likely, but
Um,
it can.
but I think it's more about reducing
Yeah,
distractions
in
and,
general,
and
I
and
would agree.
productivity.
And
We get
to,
we get sidelined so much,
Yep.
during the day. So that as much as you can limit that, I think that's better.
yeah, and we have 2 more settings. We're going to run a couple minutes over. I can already predict that, but wanted to
Sure.
put a bow on this setting as well. And I
Okay,
actually
this is a good
blanked.
topic.
Yeah, this one I want to spend a couple minutes on. So
Yeah.
prevent the usage of OneDrive for file storage is set to enabled. So as a point of clarity, CIS does not actually map this benchmark back to a CIS control. So this is not
Okay.
a regulated recommendation. This is the more
This is
granular
more of a
defense in depth.
company focus, how if they're using OneDrive or not.
Yep.
Um, Again, data is important to companies, and some company. I have both ways. I have clients that have OneDrive disabled and enabled.
Yep.
Um, OneDrive can be good because we back up. One of our things are that we do backup all Office products in OneDrive, and Outlook and email. So we have a third-party application that does that for us. Um, so, but it can lead to data being taken to laptops,
Mhm.
to other devices where it can be copied over. And some clients were like, no, we're going to limit this. They can't do it.
Yep.
It has to be on the file server. We have auditing on the file server. Whoever touches the files, it gets backed up, or some sort of a other type of a cloud storage space. And some clients are like, we're going to leverage OneDrive.
Yeah,
So
it's a portal for data
it,
leakage
it,
for sure.
it
And
is.
if you're operating with regulated information, regulated data, it's not going to
Those,
pass an
yeah,
audit.
in those
You're
type of
done.
environment, it's shut down. Yeah,
Yep.
it does. But we do have clients that are using OneDrive very successfully,
Yep.
and and that's actually helped us in retrieving some, going back, because with OneDrive you can have revisions and
Yep.
It's
type
convenient.
of things, and so it's a mixed bag here.
Absolutely. And I just want to note for the audience, the majority of MSPs that Senteon works with does not follow this recommendation. They understand their clients need this on their workstations,
Mhm.
but notice I said on their workstations. So this is also a setting on
Yes,
the
true,
server level.
true.
And I would say all of our partners who do workstation and server hardening, they will harden this on the server.
100%, 100%.
hmm
Yeah,
So
everything is hard on the file server, cannot be used, just on workstations. Absolutely
yep.
correct.
So that's just really important. Again, these CIS recommendations, like it's a 1,500 page PDF for a workstation, it's 1,200 pages for a server, but there are these minor differences that are hard to do manually. So plug my own company, right? Senteon's going to help, but
Yep.
at the same time, it's okay to have different baselines based on different operating
Use
systems,
case.
even based on different departments, right? It's not
Sure.
bad. Mm-hmm.
It's not one answer.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Different clients, different departments, different. We have to work with the client, and if they want to use it, this is one thing that we have a mix. We have different clients that everybody, no file server, but workstation. We have I would say 70% use it, 30% do not.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, the last setting today, turn off push to install service is set to enabled. This to me sounds like we're just limiting the amount of power a user has. Could you expand on
Yep.
this?
So, the push to install service allows remote installations, so that potentially a bad actor
Oh,
can use that to
Command and
install
control
an
comes to mind.
command and control, install an application remotely. And that is something we wanted to disable, like turn off the push to install service and
mm-hmm.
only be able to install applications through our own
Trusted
agent,
source.
that trusted, and MDM, or however we're installing our applications through the workstations. But having that this is extremely important, because that's one way of bad actor being able to push applications to, or a service to
Yep.
a workstation, and that can wreak havoc. So this is,
Absolutely.
I would say, this is one of the most important ones.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, this again, these last three settings we talked about are level one, so they should be implemented across
Yeah.
the board. Really, no reason not to follow this. So, good summary on that setting here. And if we can just highlight Allen here, I always give the last couple minutes if we wanted to do any major takeaways, 2024 trends. What's kind of the takeaway you want to leave the audience with, Allen?
2024 trend. That 2024 trend is, we're going to see what's out there for us. But uh, but the trends we see is obviously, work from home is continuing. We also have, so it's extremely important to harden these workstations as much as we can through dual factors, and Senteon and being a good partner with us. I'm pushing you guys as well. But that trend is not slowing down. I mean, we are seeing this hybrid model. We are seeing, also we have clients that are moving totally to VDI, virtual, infrastructures, desktop infrastructures, and we've been helpful with them to do it in our own data centers. So the trend is more security focus for 2024, different types of hybrid solutions, safeguarding the data where it might sit. It could be in different places and different things. Uh, and I'm sure there'll be surprises in 2024, like everything else. And
Always.
AI being, and I'm guessing AI is, with some of the Microsoft products that are coming out with AI and ChatGPTs
Yep.
and how we can leverage those. We are leveraging it internally. We are using it to help us with documentation, with some marketing materials. Even we're doing it, using it, and helping us better communicate with our clients. So we do that, and I think we are trying to see that our clients are also trying to see how to utilize that. And in our application development segment, we're going to be definitely using AI to be able to do faster answers and faster applications, and being able to give answers or help us build better applications also. So I think AI is going to be big in 2024, which we have seen this already. But all types of security, obviously, and AI comes with its own security issues that I'm sure we're going to learn more and more.
Yeah, and I think the first half of what you said was all around security posture, cyber hygiene, and this is something Steve also echoed when he was on. Is from the 90s to now, configurations were always, there. They were always like, we should do it, but it's too hard, it's too manual. So when EDR and antivirus backups came out, you prioritize that because of ease of use.
Yep.
Well, times are coming back around. Innovative solutions are making the difficult things possible. And as you said, the 2024 trend, posture configurations is a higher priority than it ever was before. So amazing having you, Allen. Thank you for being here. And yes,
Thank you for
AI
having
for
me.
sure in 2024.
Great
Yes.
job, Allen. Thank you.
I think
guys.
absolutely. And I think even one more note, I think AI is going to probably start being integrated into the Microsoft operating system. So I imagine
Yes, that's what we hear. Yep.
Senteon might have some hardening settings around AI soon enough. We'll get CIS to make some recommendations as they're released. But we have an awesome 3 more weeks ahead of us. Only like 5 more weeks left. Crazy. But Eric Woodard's coming back on. Corey Kirkendall and JD are kicking off March for us. So really excited to get into these. I do have a newsletter that I try my best to keep up to date with deeper dives into this. So feel free to subscribe on our page. And then, as always, to summarize, Rich and I are happy to connect. We can toss Allen's LinkedIn into the chat as well. Allen, I hope we're connected now. I don't know if we actually pulled that off in time.
I think we did.
But Senteon is here to help with the implementation of all the CIS recommendations. You can get a free risk assessment of your NFRs, scanning that QR code. But thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us a few extra minutes late, and thanks for having the time, Allen.